Actually, what happened? Okay, I'll do Srimad Bhagavatam today because I have brought that only. I'm outside, so I'll just, if you don't mind, you can have Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yes, Mataji, Srimad Bhagavatam, it is 4870.
Okay. Is Vedvit Prabhu there? Vedvit Prabhu is there? Hello? Haribol? Is not there? Okay.
He's there, Mataji. I think he's on mute. Maybe. Let
Okay,
me call
Abhay
him.
Prabhu. Abhay
Yes,
Prabhu,
Mataji.
can you please be reading? Just give me 5 minutes.
Yes, Mataji.
Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll join.
Okay, Mataji.
Thank you.
ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते जयपताका स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमो आचार्यपदाय निताय कृपापदायिने वरदधामदाय नगरामतारिणे। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष नवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत श्रीवासादि गौर गोविंद। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतं सेवया भक्तिरुत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकीम्। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, verse number 70. मैत्रेय उवाच इति देवर्षिणा प्रोक्तं विश्रुत्य जगतीपतिः राजलक्ष्मी मनादृत्यः पुत्रमेवान्व चिन्तयत्। Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great Maitreya continued. The king Uttanpad, after being advised by Narad Muni, practically gave up all the duties in relation with his kingdom, which was very vast and wide, opulent, like the goddess of fortune, and he simply began to think of his son Dhruva. Text 71. तत्राभिषिक्तः प्रेतस्तासमुपोष्य विहारीं समाहितः पर्यचर दृश्यादेशेन पुरुषम्। तत्राभिषिक्तः प्रेतस्तामुपोष्य विहारीं समाहितः पर्यचर दृश्यादेशेन पुरुषम्। Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Elsewhere, Dhruv Maharaj, having arrived at Madhuvana, took his bath in the river Yamuna and observed fasting in the night with great care and attention. After that, as advised by the great sage Narada, he engaged himself in worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The significance of this particular verse is that Dhruv Maharaj acted exactly according to the advice of his spiritual master, the great sage Narada. Sri Krishna Chakravarti also advises that if we want to be successful in our attempt to go back to Godhead, we must very seriously act according to the instruction of the spiritual master. That is the way of perfection. There need be no anxiety over attaining perfection, because if one follows the instruction given by the spiritual master, he is sure to attain perfection. our only concern should be how to execute the order of the spiritual master. A spiritual master is the expert in giving special instructions to each of his disciples. And if the disciples execute the order of the spiritual master, that is the way of the perfection. Triratante Triratante Kapith Badrashana Atmavritya Atmavritya Nusarena Masam Nityer Archanyam Viram Tiratrante Kapith Badrashana Atmavritya Nusarena Masam Nityer Archan Harim. Translation by Shil Prabhupada ki jai. For the first month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only fruits and berries, and every third day only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Kapitha is a flower which is known in Indian vernacular as Kayeta. We do not find any English equivalent for this name of this flower, but its fruit is generally not accepted by human beings. Not accepted by the human beings. It is eaten by monkeys in the forest. Dhruv Maharaj, however, accepted such fruits, not for luxurious feasting, but just to keep his body and soul together. The body needs food, but a devotee should not accept foodstuff to satisfy the tongue in sense gratification. It is recommended in Bhagavad Gita that one should accept as much food as necessary to keep the body fit, but one should not eat for luxury. Dhruv Maharaj is an acharya, and by undergoing service, austerities, and penances, he teaches us how one should execute devotional service. We must carefully know the process of Dhruv Maharaj's service. How severely he passed his days will be shown in later verses. We should always remember that to become a bona fide devotee of the Lord is not an easy task. But in this age, by the mercy of the Lord Chaitanya, it has been made very easy. But if we do not follow even the liberal instructions of Lord Chaitanya, how can we expect to discharge our regular duties in devotional service? It is not possible in this age to follow Dhruv Maharaja in his austerity, but the principles must be followed. We should not disregard the regulative principles given by our spiritual master. For that, make it easier for the conditioned soul. As far as our ISKCON movement is concerned, we simply ask that one observe the four prohibitive rules, chant 16 round, and instead of indulging in luxurious eating for the tongue, simply accept prasad offered to the Lord. This does not mean that with our fasting, the Lord should also fast. The Lord should be given foodstuff which is as nice as possible, but we should not make it a point to satisfy our own tongue. As far as possible, we should accept simple foodstuff just to keep the body and soul together to execute devotional service. It is our duty to remember always that in comparison to Dhruv Maharaj, we are insignificant. We cannot do anything like what Dhruv Maharaj did for self-realization because we are absolutely incompetent to execute such service. But by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we have been given all concession possible for this age. So at least we should always remember that neglect of our prescribed duties in devotional service will not make us successful in the mission we have undertaken. It is our duty to follow in the footsteps of Dhruv Maharaja, for he was very determined. We should also be determined to finish our duties in executing devotional service in this life. We should not wait for another life to finish our job. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimrindasya Jnanjanashalakya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruvin. So we see the severe tapasya of Dhruv Maharaja. First, for the first 1 month, he ate only fruits and berries, that too on every third day. only to keep his body and soul together. And in this way, he progressed in his worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Kayeta, we do not. Dhruva Maharaja, imagine, he ate the flower which is known as Kapita or Kayeta, and which is only accepted by monkeys in the forest. So he just ate just to keep his body and soul together. Just imagine how much, the tongue should not be indulged. That one should accept as much food as necessary to keep the body fit, but one should not eat for luxury. Dhruva Maharaj is an acharya, and by undergoing severe austerities and penances, he teaches us how one should execute devotional service. So we can see how much we are indulged by having prasadam, nicely cooking and offering. Of course, because we are offering, that's a big concession has been given to us. He was practicing yoga along with bhakti. So his procedure, his method was a little different. How severely he passed his days. We should always remember that to become a bona fide devotee of the Lord is not an easy task. But in this age, by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it has been made very easy. A lot of concessions for us. We should not get up early. How look at Dhruv Maharaj and where are we? We are having too much of a comfortable life. But if we do not follow even the liberal instructions of Lord Chaitanya, how can we expect to discharge our regular duties and devotional service? It is not possible in this age to follow Dhruv Maharaja in his austerity. So we can relax. We don't have to be like Dhruv Maharaja eating only berries. That too, not for the tongue, just for the body. We're not asked to do all that. But the principles must be followed. We should not disregard the regulative principles given by our spiritual master. Prabhupada is saying, he just asks that you follow the 4 prohibitive rules, chant 16 rounds, and instead of indulging in luxurious eating for the tongue, simply accept prasada food or prasada offered to the Lord. So, as far as possible, we should accept simple food stuff just to keep the body and soul together to execute devotional service. So we cannot, if we want to be yogis, and then we have to follow. There are others, like people, for example, who are following something, even Jains, for example, they are Vaishyas, Vaishya community, they're very rich, wealthy normally, all of them, but they follow strictly that we will not eat things grown underground. Anywhere part of the world, they'll demand, I want my Jain food. And so everywhere it's available. In any flight, Jain food is available. But because of them, we also benefit. So because they're so determined, and for the sake of, it's amazing how being in that mercantile community, they feel very proud if somebody in their family takes to complete renunciation and goes and lives like a Jain monk. They're very proud of that. So we only think that, oh, everything is very difficult. We should not become a renunciant. Only in Hindus, this kind of feeling is there always. We should enjoy with our body and mind. So here, if we have, um, I think so. Maybe one in back. It is our duty to remember always that in comparison to Dhruva Maharaj, we are insignificant. We cannot do anything like what Dhruva Maharaj did for self-realization because we're absolutely incompetent to execute such service. But when Lord Chaitanya said, yeah, we have enough for today. Mm. But by Lord Chaitanya's mercy, we've been given all concessions possible for this age. So at least we should always remember that neglect of our prescribed duties in devotional service will not make us successful in the mission we have undertaken. So for us, the most important duty is what? Is chanting. That doesn't require too much of physical austerities. It just requires determination about the goal of life, that I do want to dedicate my life in the service of Krishna. And for that, we are not alone. Dhruva Maharaja was all alone in the forest. Nobody there for him to even, you know, he had to rely only on himself. Uh, on his own determination. There was nobody he could go to and say, "Oh, today I didn't feel like doing. Can I go to sleep?" There's nobody there. He has to. He was so determined that uh, he just didn't require anybody. He himself managed. See the determination. We struggle in the beginning, at least. Oh, today I don't want to do this. Can I just skip it? So many things come in the way, and then we give excuses. But still, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so very merciful. If he says, okay, just cry, you're not able to do anything, cry. Cry. And then for us, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even is very difficult to approach because he is the Supreme Lord and he's got his standards. But the Guru, he is the devotee is more merciful than the Lord. So we should go to the devotee and cry, please help me, please help me. We have Guru Maharaj, we have Prabhupada who are waiting to help us, but we don't go to them. There's a nice quotation of Guru Maharaj today I read. It said, you know, normally it's devotional service is a relationship between the devotee and the Supreme Lord. But what happens is sometimes the devotee, instead of seeing the Lord, he is looking somewhere else up, and he's in total Maya. And then that time, the Guru is the one who gives a push. Come on, go to Krishna. So he said that the devotee is more merciful than Krishna himself. So we have this big backup system, Guru and Vaishnavas, and so much of support we have. And we should acknowledge that for us, these austerities are more on the mental platform. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us just become humble, finished. You made it. You don't have to do physical austerities so much. That is the thing. That is the thing with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that if you uh, take the mental austerity, then physical becomes relaxed. Like Prabhupada, when he was a grihastha, and that time when he was in Mumbai, and all the Gaudiya Math people said, "Oh, why are you staying outside? You should be staying in the Mata." But Prabhupada said, not only in Mumbai, even much earlier, they used to say, "Oh, Prabhupada can come and stay in our ashram because, you know, they, because he was so qualified." And he said, "Oh, the thought of, I suppose it was only in Mumbai that he was, Bombay at that time, that he was away from his family. And so they felt that he can come and stay in the temple." And he the thought of lying down on the floor and all those austerities, like the brahmacharis, that was too much for him. He didn't want austerities. So Prabhupada never emphasized physical austerities so much. But he wanted us, mentally to be very, very humble and, taking shelter. Otherwise, he called us rascal. You rascal, you want to defy Krishna, you want to be proud. That he never tolerated. But still, he was very, very accommodative. Whatever little bit you do, and then enter like a needle and pull you out like a plow. That was Prabhupada's thing. We have so many um, different availability, comfort. Like in Kali Yuga, we have a lot of comfortable things available due to technological advancement. And similarly, even in executing our devotional service, we have a lot of things which comfort us and give us, you know, a lot of leeway so that we can progress at our own pace. But then Dhruv Maharaja's determination should be within us that within this life, I must become successful. I must be successful in my spiritual life. And that determination, if we have, then we'll, we'll definitely make it because we have such great acharyas right here. We think Prabhupada is far away. Prabhupada is right here amidst us. And if we read his books and we pray to him and cry to him, Prabhupada can lift us. He'll be so happy to do that. Dvitiyam cha tathamasam shashte shashte arbhako dine trinaparnadipi srinai kritanno abhyar chayan vibhum. In the second month, Dhruv Maharaja ate only every 6 days. And for his eatables, he took dry grass and leaves. Thus, he continued his worship. I don't know what nutritional value it would have given him, but anyway, some food to keep his body and soul together, and that too once or every 6 days. Tritiyam chanayanmasam navame hani abhaksha uttamashlokam upadhavat samadhina. In the third month, he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by selected verses. Of course, the forest is a very nice place. You won't, I mean, the raw food, if you eat raw food, you won't, your tongue will not get, addicted to eating all palatable foods. Living in the cities and cooking and eating, we get addicted to palatable foods. So we have to concentrate more on the spiritual aspect of prasadam and see Krishna in it. He was following a different yogic path. So that required a lot of austerities. Chaturtam api vaimasam dvadashe dvadashe hani vayu bhaksho jitasvaso dhyayan devam adarayat. In the fourth month, Dhruv Maharaja became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The principle is that we give less importance to our own material, mental comfort, mental and bodily comfort, and we concentrate more on our spiritual advancement of pleasing Krishna. Dhruv Maharaj pleased Krishna by meditating upon him. And we also have to please Krishna by absorbing our thoughts in him and also doing seva, physical, mental, all kinds of services for the pleasure of the Lord. So we are at an advantage because Dhruv Maharaja was standing in one place. So his entire service was about meditation. But we are allowed, okay, use your senses, walk around, sleep, eat, talk, everything. We are allowed all those things. The only thing is, that is the difficulty. In one sense, Dhruv Maharaja's was very difficult, but at the same time, it was also easy because he was away from all those kind of distractions. He could just stand there and only there is nothing else. And in the forest, it's a very sattvic place. You feel the presence of God everywhere. And just close your eyes and keep thinking about God, keep chanting the mantra. In that sense, it's more favorable, more conducive. And here we are living in the midst of the city, total cacophony, all, distractions. And here we are trying to become yogis. So in that sense, it's very difficult. But at the same time, it's also easy because we don't need to control the mind and the senses in the artificial way. Instead, so for us, the only tapasya by which we can elevate our consciousness is chanting the holy name. That is more powerful than anything, and especially Hare Krishna mantra. That is why it's been given in the Kali Yuga. Even Hare Krishna mantra was not given to Dhruva because he was in Satya Yuga and he could easily concentrate his mind. But in Kali Yuga, when everything is broken down, our mind cannot sit still. We cannot sit still for a moment. Mind is we're wandering everywhere. We need a very powerful method by which, even in the midst of any place, any situation, we can pull our consciousness from absorption in material things to Krishna. That is why for us, Hare Krishna mantra is the only thing, because it's very, very difficult through other processes to fix your mind. Panchame masi anuprapte jitashvaso nripatmaja dhyayan brahmapadai tastau stanur ivachala. In the 5th month, Maharaja Dhruva, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman. So only in the 5th month, he started standing on one leg when he had controlled his breathing. So when the breathing is also controlled, then you have complete control over your senses. And so that's why he could just stand like that on only one leg. That too, all the time. I don't know if he slept even able to just as a, because if he's not going to be breathing, if he's not going to be eating, then and his body was able to stand only on one leg without motion, then he would not have wanted any sleep even, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman. So that is what these great yogis, only in the beginning they may be sleeping in between, taking a little rest. Because Krishna says, Yukta viharasya yukta cheshta karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkha. That is in the beginning. Then afterwards, when you reach this kind of perfection, then you don't need to sleep or eat or anything. Sarvato mana akrishya hridi bhutendriyasayam dhyayan bhagavato rupam nadrakshit kinchana param. He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The yogic principles of meditation are clearly explained here. One has to fix one's mind upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without diversion to any other objective. It is not that one can meditate or concentrate on an impersonal objective. To try to do so is simply a waste of time, for it is unnecessarily troublesome, as explained in the Bhagavad Gita. So he was. So we are supposed to, how do we always remember the Lord in our, I mean, for us practically? Because we have so many duties and so many distractions. The one thing, so we go into the root of the problem. Why do we forget Krishna? I mean, we don't say that, see, you should, now you got, you must always remember, your, don't forget your family members. We don't get such instructions. I mean, okay, if you're too much involved in, I mean, you're too selfish or a little irresponsible, you may get such advice. Otherwise, nobody thinks that, okay, even family members go abroad, leaving their family behind for a few months or even one full year or something like that. And then they don't say that, oh, don't forget me, okay, when you're there. Because why? Because the affection is there. So they're confident that they will not forget. In the same way, actually, why should we forget Krishna? We have a relationship with him. And so why do we forget him? We only forget him because we are not surrendered to him. I mean, we don't understand our position, that he is the master and I'm the servant. That's the main thing. We're very proud to exercise our independence and show that, I don't need to be told. I want to tell everything. So that dominating streak in us, and that is what makes us forget Krishna and think that we are independent or we don't need. But if we remember our position, our dependence on him, our relationship with him, we cannot forget him, whatever else we may be doing. And that's why in Bhakti Yoga, even Grihasthas can become pure devotees. Because that's why this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's method goes into the root cause of why we forget God. We forget God only because we've forgotten our relationship with him.
Yeah, I'm just
And the
outside. I'll be
minute
there in 5 minutes.
And
Yeah.
the minute we establish that
Okay.
relationship in the proper mode, that's it. You'll never forget him. So that is why the Hare Krishna mantra is so powerful. And that is why we should simply concentrate on getting into this service mode. I'm your servant, Krishna. Please engage me in your service. My mind is telling all sorts of other things, sense gratification, and it's covered with lust. Lust in so many things. Lust is for any kind of enjoyment we want, is lust. That is pulling me away from you. I want to be your servant. So we only concentrate on improving our mood. So that we re-establish our original relationship. That is all. The minute we do that, you can never forget Krishna. Whatever work you're doing, any work, anywhere, we cannot forget Krishna. Right? Modi was saying that I only do whatever Paramatma tells me. Ruling over India is the most difficult job. It is too chaotic. And he's always thinking of God. So it doesn't matter what job you do or where you are. It is only once you understand that he is the ruler, I'm simply his servant. That is all we need to do. We should simply concentrate on having the proper mood vis-a-vis Krishna. That's enough. We don't need to do all other things. That's why Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is so simple that we miss it. We think, no. It must be to do a lot of sacrifice, renunciation. So many people think that you have to take sannyas for perfection. Or they think, I don't know, maybe you should know all the shlokas, you should learn all the scriptures by heart, and then only you can become perfect. Or they detachment. They think detachment is what determines whether you can progress or not. Or, so many things like this. But the root cause of the thing is only this, which we never go near that. We do everything else except that one thing. If we do, then that is it. Everything else will be taken care of. The minute we just surrender to the Lord and say, you are my master, and you please be with me and let me do everything the way you want. That is all. Then you can just be normal also. You don't have to do, we know Prabhupada, the kind of lifestyle he led, he ate normally. So, of course, it was disciplined and regulated. He just didn't eat every day some samosas and kachoris, especially when he was old. But during his other childhood and all that, he liked eating food. There's nothing wrong. It's only if you forget Krishna, then you think, oh, I like kachoris more than Krishna. But always you're remembering Krishna, that means, yes, you can have everything. The body and the senses can function. And then the mind can be engaged in so many activities. He did business and he was with his family. You might wonder, because people don't understand. They think it's all about renunciation. if you are doing bhakti to the Lord, how can you be doing other things? But for a pure devotee, Krishna controls the senses. So, like Arjuna, for example, he was a military man. I mean, he was a royal household. Okay, so then how could he think about Krishna? And that is all. I mean, you can lead a normal life. The only thing you need to concentrate on is everything is given by Krishna. That whatever my family, my body, my wealth, or my properties, or anything is all Krishna's. If we realize that, and whatever Krishna says is all I will do, and we remember that, that is all that is required. And so we must focus with one point determination. Like Dhruv Maharaja was, how determined he was, but we don't have to imitate his austerities, but we only simply have to chant Hare Krishna mantra, chant Hare Krishna mantra very sincerely, crying out to the Lord for help. Please help me. I want to be your servant. But you see, the external energy is pulling me. You only can save me. If you just admit I'm incapable of even becoming your servant without your help, that is all we need to do, nothing else. Then Bhakti Yoga is very easy in that sense. So we can also get whatever Dhruv Maharaja got, we can also achieve that. So he was, I mean, this is a difficult process, the yoga, Ashtanga yoga process, or, controlling breathing and all these things. Adharam Mahad Adinam Pradhana Paurusheshwaram Brahma Dhara Dharayamanasya Trayo Lokaschakam Kire. When Dhruv Maharaja thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refuge of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. Purport. In this verse, the particular word Brahma is significant. Oh, there's a long purport. Okay. We saw that how he completely controlled his senses and their objects. And in this way, he fixed his mind without diversion to anything else upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oh. Huh? You're coming up? This, in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita.
So coming.
Sixth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it is mentioned that for one who has controlled his mind and senses, Paramatma is already reached. That is all. The curtain is the sense gratification and the mental gratification. That is what is the curtain. Otherwise, we are with Krishna very close, and we are not able to see him only because of this. And the minute our senses are controlled and mind is controlled through chanting, then we can see Krishna, the Paramatma. So much so that Dhruv Maharaja captured the Lord inside his heart, and the Lord was like inside, locked up inside. He was imprisoned in his heart. That is the greatest result of chanting, is that you can get Krishna himself directly, first in the heart as Paramatma realization.
You have to show him what is
it. Yeah. So we can understand how powerful is this Hare Krishna mantra chanting, that it supersedes every other method of tapasya or spiritual processes. We are very, very fortunate. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is really so merciful. I mean, in what, how can we compare in any way? I mean, with Dhruv Maharaj, if you see that, we will feel very morose. Oh, I can never become self-realized. I can never become get Krishna because I can't do anything of what he did. And that is why this is such a good news that we don't need to do any of those. We don't need to plan more and more austerities. We just need to, only austerity is during chanting, put your full mind in it completely and beg his mercy. That is all we need to do. And then engage, begging him that let me do everything in the mood of service to satisfy you. That is the only tapasya we need to do. Other things will automatically follow. Everything will become very harmonious and connected with the Lord, and that we can never forget him throughout the day. That must be our anxiety. Okay. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna.
Okay. Today, one after the other, something or the other. But today two people's birthdays are there. So first, let us just switch off the recording, Avyak Prabhu. Where is Vasantraga Mataji?
Mataji,